The text came while I was stationed at Forward Operating Base Lightning in Afghanistan, 3 months into my second deployment. Diego, we sold the house. Your old room is gone tomorrow. House closes at 2 p.m. We're moving to Arizona to be near your sister. Deal with it. Mom. I stared at the message on my satellite phone trying to process what I'd just read. They sold the house. My childhood home. The place I'd grown up, where my memories lived, where I'd planned to return after my military service. Without telling me. Without asking. Without even giving me a chance to say goodbye. I checked the time difference. It was evening back home in California. I called Mom immediately. Diego? Why are you calling so late? Mom, what do you mean you sold the house? We told you we were thinking about downsizing. Maria found us a nice place in Phoenix near her and the grandkids. You told me you were thinking about it. You didn't tell me you were doing it. Diego, you're deployed for another 9 months. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? Mom, that's our family home. It's our house, Diego. Your father and I made the decision that was best for us. But it's my home too. Diego, you're in the army. You live on bases. You don't need a house in California. I felt my anger rising, which was dangerous in a war zone where you need to stay calm and focused. Mom, I grew up in that house. I was planning to come back there when I finish my service. Come back to what? To live with your parents at 30 years old. To come back to my hometown. To start my civilian life somewhere familiar. Well, now you can start fresh somewhere new. Arizona has better weather anyway. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, you sold my childhood home while I'm deployed overseas defending our country, and you're telling me to just deal with it? Diego, don't be dramatic. It's just a house. It's not just a house to me. Diego, we needed the money. Your father's retirement isn't enough and we want to be near Maria and the kids. How much money? $250,000. It's enough for us to buy a nice place in Phoenix and have some left over. $250,000. For the house I'd been secretly paying the mortgage on for 3 years. My family had no idea that when Dad lost his job in 2019 and they were facing foreclosure, I'd quietly purchased the house from the bank and continued letting them live there rent-free. To them, they were still the homeowners. In reality, I'd been their landlord for 3 years, making payments out of my military salary and combat pay. Mom, who's handling the sale? Some attorney downtown. Martinez and Associates. Diego, why are you asking all these questions? The house is sold. We sign papers tomorrow and move to Phoenix next week. What's the name of the law firm again? Martinez and Associates. Diego, you need to accept this. The house is gone. After hanging up, I sat in my bunk thinking about the situation. My parents were about to sell a house they didn't own to buyers who thought they were getting a clean title. The legal complications alone could destroy multiple families financially. I called my lawyer, Janet Rodriguez, who had handled the original purchase when I bought the house from the bank. Diego. How are you? Still keeping America safe? Janet, I need your help. My parents are trying to sell the house on Maple Street. The house you own. The house I own. Diego, your parents can't sell a house they don't own. Don't they know you bought it from the bank? They have no idea. I've been letting them think they still own it. Why? Because they were facing foreclosure and I didn't want them to feel bad about me having to bail them out. Diego, that was generous of you, but now you have a problem. I have a big problem. They think they're selling their house tomorrow. The buyers think they're buying a house with clear title. And I'm stuck in Afghanistan watching my family commit real estate fraud. Fraud might be too strong a word. More like a very complicated misunderstanding. Janet, can you stop the sale? I can stop it, but it's going to create a lot of problems for your parents and the buyers. More problems than completing a fraudulent real estate transaction? Good point. Diego, I'll call the title company first thing in the morning. And Janet. Yes. Be gentle with my parents. They honestly don't know they're doing anything wrong. The next morning, evening my time, Janet called back. Diego, I've got good news and bad news. Give me the bad news first. The bad news is that your parents were about 4 hours away from completing a sale that would have landed them in serious legal trouble. And the good news? The good news is that I stopped it. The title company was very grateful to avoid the lawsuit that would have come when the buyers discovered the title issue. How did my parents react? That's complicated. Your mother called me screaming about some lawyer trying to steal their house. I explained that the house belongs to Diego Martinez, and she said that was impossible because Diego Martinez is her son and he's in the army. And then I had to explain that her son Diego Martinez bought the house from the bank 3 years ago when they were facing foreclosure. How did she take that? She hung up on me. Then your father called back an hour later asking if this was some kind of mistake. What did you tell him? I told him that there was no mistake, that his son had purchased the house to prevent it from being foreclosed on, and that legally Diego Martinez Jr. had been the homeowner for 3 years. And he asked me why you hadn't told them. What did you say? I told him that was a question for his son, not his son's lawyer. That evening my phone rang. Diego, we need to talk. Hi, Dad. Diego, did you buy our house? Dad. I bought the house. When? 3 years ago when you were facing foreclosure. Diego, why didn't you tell us? Because I didn't want you to feel bad about needing help. Feel bad? Diego, we've been living in your house for 3 years without knowing it. You've been living in the family home. The ownership paperwork doesn't change that. Diego, this changes everything. How does it change everything? Because we can't sell a house that belongs to our son. Dad, why did you decide to sell the house without talking to me about it? Because we thought it was our house to sell. But even if it had been your house, don't you think you should have discussed it with me? Asked if I wanted to buy it from you? Given me a chance to say goodbye. Dad was quiet for a moment. Diego, you're right. We should have talked to you first. Dad, this is my childhood home. The place where I grew up. I was planning to come back there when I finish my military service. We didn't think. Diego, we didn't think you'd want to come back to California. Why not? Because you're seeing the world, you're having adventures. We thought you'd want to settle down somewhere more exciting than your old hometown. Dad, after spending years in war zones, all I want is to come home to somewhere familiar and peaceful. Diego, we made a mistake. What kind of mistake? We made a decision about your future without asking you what you wanted. And we didn't tell you we were selling the house because we were afraid you'd try to talk us out of it. Would I have tried to talk you out of it? Probably. And we would have listened to you, which would have meant staying in California instead of moving to Phoenix. And that would have been bad because Maria keeps saying we should move closer to the grandkids and we thought this was our chance. Dad, Maria's opinion about where you should live is more important than my connection to our family home? No, Diego. No, it's not. Then why did you make this decision without including me? Because we're stupid, Diego. Because we thought we were being independent and making our own choices, but we were actually just making choices that hurt our son. Mom got on the phone. Diego, I'm sorry about the text message. Which part of the text message? The deal with it part. That was mean. Mom, the whole text was mean. You told me you sold my childhood home in a message that was 3 sentences long. I know. Diego, I was feeling guilty about not asking you first, so I tried to make it sound like it didn't matter. But it does matter to me. We see that now. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. If you had known that I owned the house, would you have handled this differently? Diego, if we had known you owned the house, we would have talked to you before making any decisions. But you should have talked to me anyway, even if you owned the house. Why? Because it's my family home too. Because I'm your son and I love that house. Because I've been deployed for 3 months and getting a text that says, your old room is gone tomorrow, felt like getting kicked in the stomach. Mom started crying. Diego, we didn't think about how it would feel for you to get that news while you're so far away. No, you didn't think about it. Diego, what can we do to fix this? I don't know, Mom. The buyers probably found another house. You probably told Maria you were moving to Phoenix. Everything is complicated now. Diego, will figure it out. How? I don't know yet. But Diego, will figure it out because we love you and we made a mistake. A week later, Janet called with an update. Diego, your parents want to have a family meeting about the house. A family meeting? They want to discuss what should happen with the property, now that everyone knows the real ownership situation. What are the options? Option 1. You sell them the house for fair market value and they move to Phoenix as planned. What's option 2? Option 2. They stay in California and continue living in the house, but they start paying you rent. Option 3. Option 3. You keep the house, they move to Phoenix and you rent it out until you come back from deployment. Janet, what do my parents want to do? Honestly, I think they want you to tell them what you want to do. I think they realize they messed up by not including you in the decision, and now they're overcorrecting by not wanting to make any decisions at all. That's not helpful either. No, it's not. Diego, what do you want? I thought about it. What I wanted was for my family to understand that serving overseas doesn't mean I stop being part of the family or caring about our family home. What I wanted was for them to include me in major decisions instead of presenting them as done deals. But what I also wanted was for my parents to be happy and financially secure. Janet, set up a video call with all of us for this weekend. Saturday morning, I logged into a video conference from the base communication center. Mom, Dad, and Maria were all sitting around the kitchen table in the house I owned but had never told them I owned. Hi everyone. Diego. Mom looked like she'd been crying. We miss you so much. I miss you too, Mom. Diego, Dad said, we want to apologize again for how we handled the house situation. I appreciate the apology, Dad. Diego, Maria spoke up. I feel terrible. I've been pushing them to move to Phoenix, and I had no idea it would affect you. Maria, you didn't know about the ownership situation. But I should have realized that you'd have feelings about them selling the family home. Yeah, I do have feelings about it. Diego, Mom said, we want you to tell us what you want to do. It's your house, so it should be your decision. Actually, Mom, I don't think it should just be my decision. What do you mean? I mean that I bought this house to keep it in the family. Yes, I own it legally, but it's still our family home. So what does that mean? It means we should make decisions about it as a family. Hey. So what do you think we should do? I think you should move to Phoenix if that's what will make you happy. But then what happens to the house? Then I keep the house, and when I finish my military service I move back into it. Diego, that means we'll never come back to California. Mom, it also means that there will always be a family home here if you want to visit. Visit? Yeah. The house has 4 bedrooms. You can come stay whenever you want. Maria can bring the kids to see where their uncle grew up. Dad looked thoughtful. Diego, that actually sounds nice. And Dad, if you decide you hate Arizona and want to come back, the house will be here. You'd let us move back? Dad, it's our family home. Of course I'd let you move back. Diego, what about the money? We were counting on the sale money to buy a place in Phoenix. Dad, how much do you need for a place in Phoenix? We found a nice place for about $150,000. Hey, I'll give you $150,000 as a gift. Diego, you can't give us that much money. Why not? Because that's too generous. Dad, I've been saving combat pay for 3 years. I can afford to help my parents buy a house. But Diego, what if you need that money for your own house someday? Dad, I already have a house. I have our house. Mom started crying again. Diego, you'd really let us come back and visit? Mom, I'd love for you to come back and visit. I'd love for the grandkids to have sleepovers in their uncle's house. I'd love for Maria to see her old room. Diego, Maria said, I'm sorry I pushed them to move without thinking about how it would affect you. Maria, you want Mom and Dad closer to your family. That's not wrong. But I should have suggested they talk to you first. Yeah, you should have. But Maria, now they'll be closer to you and I'll have a connection to home. It works out. Diego, can I ask you something? Dad said. Sure. Why did you buy the house without telling us? Because you were facing foreclosure and I could prevent it. And because I knew if I told you, you'd feel guilty about accepting help. We would have felt guilty. And now we feel grateful. Diego, you saved our home when we couldn't save it ourselves. And you feel okay about me owning it? Diego, we feel proud that our son was successful enough to buy his parents' house when they needed help. 2 months later, my parents moved to Phoenix. They loved their new house, they loved being close to Maria and the grandkids, and they loved knowing they could come back to California anytime to visit their son's house that used to be their house. I loved knowing that when I finished my deployment, I'd be coming home to the place where I grew up, with all my memories intact and all my family welcome anytime. The house sale that almost happened taught all of us important lessons. My parents learned that being independent doesn't mean making major decisions without consulting family members who are affected. Maria learned that encouraging someone to move closer shouldn't mean pressuring them to cut ties with other places they love. And I learned that sometimes the most generous thing you can do is let people know when you're helping them, even if it makes them feel indebted to you. The text message that said, "Deal with it," became family legend, not because it was cruel, but because it marked the moment we all learned to deal with things together instead of making unilateral decisions that hurt people we love. When I got home from deployment 18 months later, the first thing I did was walk through every room of the house, touching the walls and remembering what it felt like to grow up there. The second thing I did was call my parents and invite them to come stay for Christmas. Not as former homeowners, but as beloved parents visiting their son's house that would always be their family home too. Sometimes the best way to own something is to share it with the people you love. And sometimes the best way to prevent your family from selling your childhood home is to already own it yourself. The house on Maple Street taught us all that ownership is complicated, but love is simple. And when you combine generous ownership with unconditional love, you get a family home that truly belongs to everyone who calls it home.